the subsidies,
correct,
especially on fuel prices, just to cushion when it's fluctuating, especially with the Ukraine crisis. Now there's a crisis. We do not know if it will be resolved next month or so. But don't you think that such interventions could be necessary even now?
Desperate times calls for desperate measures. And I want to agree that, you know, that Mama Mboga who needs to move from Kisumu to Kakamega, you know, that particular matatu that needs to move from Nandi to Kericho does not understand the dynamics of everything we're talking about. What they want is an actual price, is an actual figure that works for them. And I remember back in the day when President Uhuru Kenyatta introduced, I think it was about 6 billion shillings for fuel subsidy. It worked, all right? So I think it is okay, and it is the high time that we see such interventions. If you are constructing, for example, Talanta Stadium at a cost of 150 billion shillings, if you are doing Rironi Mau Summit Road at 150, 200 billion shillings, I think it's okay for government, you know, to spare another 10 billion shillings and say that we are going to use this to subsidize fuel for the next month or two. So this is the high time, just like I said earlier, that we need to see a government, an administration that really is empathetic and responds to the needs and aspirations of the people. Whether it's fuel subsidy for now, or it's scrapping fuel levy and VAT altogether, so that at least this fuel price should come lower to less than 200 shillings. That way, at least you're able to caution not just the common mananchi, but generally the entire economy.
The entire industry.
And that's how it should be.
And ODM back then, when Uhuru Kenyatta employed the subsidies, did not necessarily criticize the same. Do you think this is something that ODM supported back then, they should support now?
I think probably they would support as a recommendation for now, because as my brother has said, this is a desperate moment where we need desperate solutions to cushion the desperate Kenyans. But one thing Kenyans need to understand is if we are subsidizing fuel, that means government is paying part of it. So where is government going to get that money? Are we ready for that discussion? Because it means if we are not able to get it from the taxes we are collecting, that means someone has to borrow money somewhere. And the discussion we are having in this country is lowering the debt, the burden of debt to Kenyans. So are we ready for a conversation where now we will tell the president, you can borrow from somewhere to cushion us? That is a discussion Kenyans need to be having objectively. But if we want the fuel prices to be better for a short time or immediately, that means subsidy would be the best option. But I think the experts might sit down and try to find better, because this government has been so very straightforward about subsidizing consumption or subsidizing production rather than the consumption. So it will be a very difficult step for them now to go back to something that they have stayed away from.
Yet this is a time of crisis, 242 for a litre of diesel. That is actually the main fuel that supports the entire transport system. Don't you think, as you said, desperate times call for desperate measures? Probably it's time for William Ruto, even as he criticized the use of subsidies, to rethink his stance.
Yeah, actually, I still recommend the subsidy. You know, when the Gen Zs went to the street the other day, we saw President cancelling over 500 billion of budgets of parastatals and so on tenders. It is still possible to cancel some of the tenders that we don't need. We don't need to have furniture supplies in the ministry. There are many things we can hold on now. So the government can really, there are better loopholes that today's subsidy can be taken. And therefore, I recommend that some of the things that are being done by implementations by different departments of government that are not of any urgency can hold on, so that we consider the kind of urgency we have today.